Yo, what is up, everyone? This is episode 20 of the Glimmer cast. I'm your host, Rhea, and we're joined by a few very awesome, very amazing guests who are all very passionate about physical media, whether it be video games, music, comic books, movies, yada, yada, yada. We're going to hear it all from them, straight from themselves. So I want everyone to give a warm welcome to friend of the show, GXG, GenXGamer. How are you doing, good sir?
Hello. How are you, Rhea?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy and ecstatic that you are here today, showing off your wide array of physical media right behind you. So yes, you've come to the right place. You're on the right panel right now for this topic.
Cool.
So yeah, thank you so much for showing up. And we have William from the Sci-Fi Center, as well as Poindexter Lounge. How are you doing, William the Wise?
Okay, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, this is your first time on the channel, so thank you so much for taking time to come and chat with us. You're going to be our resident everything but games collector, assuming this is going to be all of us today. Yeah, no, sure. Let us see. Nice. I can't wait to talk about it. Awesome. Oh, and we're joined by CM Retro Gaming. What is up, good sir? Good to have you on. You might be muted.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you.
All right, cool. What's up, guys?
Doing great. How are you doing? I know that you're in the process of moving, so thank you for joining us, albeit off camera, which is totally fine. But yeah, cool, awesome. Jumping right over to OverThink Gaming. This is also your first time on the channel. Thank you so much for coming to visit us and talk about your passion for physical media collecting.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'm familiar with GenXGaming and CM Retro and Retro Complex. This is gonna be my first time chatting with you, Rhea and William. So definitely will be something interesting, especially since I think I have a different view on collecting than most people. But we'll get into that a little later.
Oh, dude, like I'm seeing some like a pretty, flossy shoe collection back there, well lit. I want to get into that too because I'm a low key like sneakerhead as well. So I don't know if that would be considered physical media, but it is collecting. Oh, hey Chris, thank you for popping on. But yeah, last but not least, my unofficial/official co-host of these gaming related podcasts, Ken Retro Complex. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
That's what's up. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, you're my top dog as far as like keeping these panels on schedule, on track, and you're always a pleasure to have on the show no matter what. But yeah, awesome. So getting into the subject matter for the stream, it's all about physical media, what we collect when we started out, what got us interested in it, and yeah, kind of going into how we all, acquired our collections, how we preserve them, and then just some speculative, conversation around like the future of physical media collecting. Like, are we a dying breed? Like, is it going to be over? What's going to happen to our collections when we're gone? Like, are the things that keep me personally up at night? I want to hear what y'all have thoughts on for that. But we'll start it off from the top with GenXGamer. Yeah, give us an idea of like what you collect, how you got started, and what got you into it.
Okay, well, I mostly collect retro games, from the 7th generation. I first got into video games back in the Atari days, and most of you I think are younger than me, so I'll give you just a little bit of background.
How old are you?
Before
hard pass.
Being a gamer or even a nerd was kind of a luxury. And there was a big shift in our family when back in the day when it was President Reagan who gave us amnesty back, like in 1980. So all my uncles and aunts and even my mom, they all were able to get better jobs, right? So all of a sudden we had money, before they were working, under the table. So they were able to buy me an Atari, right? Everybody pitched in and got me an Atari. And then that's what kind of happened to a lot of kids in the neighborhood. We were able to game. Before that, you had to be out in the street, and just do whatever. But once arcades came in and people started, making more money, it was a luxury all of a sudden we could afford, not as great as other people, but that's how I started, and I use games for therapy. I was never interested in gang banging or doing drugs. My drug was video games, and that's how I got started.
Yeah, like that's pretty relatable to me. Like I kind of found solace in collecting, especially as I got older and had a little bit more income to kind of dedicate to that hobby, which I didn't really have as a kid. Like a lot of the media I wasn't able to access and games and stuff like that. I kind of made up for that as an adult. So I relate to that a bunch. But yeah, I just want to jump over to William, Sci-Fi Center. Give us an idea of what you personally collect and what got you started into it.
I was just around when these things were coming out. I mean, I was around when the VHS were coming out, and they were super expensive to buy. It was renting was what we did, and as things like that, progressed on to where they were cheaper to buy, I bought that. I bought comic books when they were 75 cents at 7-Elevens before there was really a comic book store to proliferate them. Video games, since the 2600 Atari, we were the first people in our neighborhood to get that, and at that time that was high end. I don't collect a lot of video games these days, and I really don't play them because I'm an addict and I don't have the time to invest in them, and what everything else around me would fall apart. But I collect pop figures. I collect pretty much everything that I've surrounded myself in with in the store now. I grew up collecting. So action figures, toys, vintage magazines, vintage Warren magazines, Vampirella, just anything like that. Vintage, you can't see it here, but I'm surrounded by vintage Fangora magazines and anything like that that's from my era. Pretty much everything I felt comfortable with growing up as a kid.
Yeah, for me, like growing up, I was really into collecting every issue of Game Informer, that magazine that GameStop used to give physically with their membership. And then when I worked there, I would also collect them too. So yeah, like for some reason, like old, like printed media like that just has like some sort of like inherent value, even though a lot of the information in it, like I didn't even realize at the time was like paid advertisements and wasn't really objective journalism, but it was just, a means for me to be able to like have this relic of, back when like the portrayal of video games and like video game media back in those days. So I relate to collecting like physical media like that in terms of like printed media. But yeah, cool. Jumping over to Chris, CM Retro Gaming. What is up? Give us an idea of what you personally collect across the board and what got you started.
Yeah, so like most of the people in the chat or in the panel, I grew up with the old video game stuff, the Ataris and Nintendos. My aunt and uncle had a Sega Master System, so I've just always loved it. And then when I was in the military, everybody had PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. So when I got out, I just naturally started collecting 6th gen and before. But I got back into collecting retro games, I don't know, like 10 years ago when it just started to climb up, And yeah. But now one of my passions is I love collecting old Laserdisc movies. They're almost impossible to find. Sometimes you can find them at half-price books, but I've really only seen them once at garage sales. I really just like the challenge of it. I think it's a neat format. You don't see it a lot. So when you do, people tend to have it undervalued. Sort of the same thing with VHS, especially 70s and 80s action and horror and buddy comedy type movies. But there's just something powerful about having, like if you collect Nintendo, then having that Nintendo game in your hand, and it just kind of takes you back. It's the ultimate nostalgia drug for me. So
Nice.
definitely
Laserdisc. And all degrees of movie making. This movie was horrid, but I have a disc of it. I got Blade Runner. I got. Like I said, we could do a whole show one day on what I got for this one.
I saw a copy of Blade Runner, the director's extended cut, at half price books, but they wanted $25 for it.
And that's $24 too much for that.
I almost popped on it just because I wanted it so bad, but I ended up leaving it there. Hopefully, I'll find it at a garage sale.
If you ever pick up a Laserdisc, if they do have it of that, which is one of my two favorite movies. The other one is 2049. Pick up the international cut of the Laserdisc. It is the most complete version of that you'll ever find. And if you're going to do physical media for Blade Runner, that is the version to get, in my opinion. Otherwise, you're getting less and less of a movie with each other version.
You actually brought up a good point, William, about being able to like access specific media or different forms of media internationally, because that was one of the things I wanted to talk about down the road in the show, was like how we access especially like region specific versions that, like to your point, are like the superior versions of those media. But yeah, but just wanted to finish up the round robin really quick, going over to OverThink Gaming. Again, welcome to the show, and yeah, give us an idea of what you personally collect and what got you started.
All right, so I don't consider myself a hardcore collector. I started young, and like everyone started young with basketball cards. I went that, and then I started getting into that. Eventually, lost the hobby. I started getting more into Hot Wheel cars. By the time I was in high school, it was figures, and then I kind of stopped in my 20s. But in my late 30s, I started getting into video games. I got into video games really hard, where eventually it was like, you know what? I'm buying games I don't care about. So like when I got to that point when I realized, hey, I'm over here buying an N64 Worms Armageddon for $200, and I don't care about the games, and I'm collecting so many games I'm not even playing. I was all like, dude, there's a real bad issue. Like I need to stop. So I stopped collecting games, sold most of my collection. Like when I stop, and I'm like, I gotta sell it. So then I got into shoes, and it started getting a little crazy. But I kind of stopped. But I still respect, like if it's something heat that comes out, like if there's a shoe that I want, more or less I get it, not for the collection, it's more to wear. But there are some shoes that I can't wear. But other than that, right now I'm probably, I don't know if it's a collection or if it's addiction right now, but with the arcade one-up little machines, I'm starting to get a collection of them. It's starting to take over my house. So right now it's almost an issue. I'm limiting myself on a certain amount, but I always do that with my collections. Before they go crazy, I'll stop and I'll eventually lose interest in that and go to something else. But as of right now, you know, as far as gaming, I've tried to tell myself to do everything emulation, what I can. I like to run things pure. So like I love things like the Mister. There's so many options as technology grows. So I'm trying to get away from gaming, but right now I'm stuck on those one-up machines. So that's the current thing I'm addicted to right now.
Yeah, everything you're into, like shoes and arcade cabinets, take up hella space. So
yeah, the shoes big time. So yeah, and then you could get so many of them, and then like it's getting so hard to get shoes now because the younger generation, they made a business out of it. They're selling them, and it's hard. Just shoes are in like small quantities, especially the heaters, the ones that everyone wants. So eventually the bots and all that took over. So it's like really hard. It's just like anything else. It's like really things are hard to get. Like, so I eventually kind of lost the hobby, but if there's something I can get, I will. But it's like it's not my main focus right now. So I don't really have anything at the moment. It's just those arcade machines. But other than that, like I said, there's still shoes I'll go after.
Well, you're still in the right place. Like physical media, I did include a little Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet because I do consider those an aspect of physical media preservation and access to. So yeah, I'm glad you're here with us nonetheless. And yeah, last but not least, Ken, Retro Complex. I'm pretty sure I already kind of know what you collect, but just for folks who are tuning in for us and our guests on the panel, give us an idea of what you personally collect and what got you started.
Well, what got me started was my family. I got lucky, not like everybody else that, they struggle buying games and stuff. I got super lucky with my family, and my family always been like into gaming. So they bought any console, any game that came out. They always were like buying and buying and buying. So I had a bunch of games. Then sadly, I lost a bunch of them, but I was a kid. I didn't know best. Now the stuff that I collect normally, like OverThink said, I try not to collect every single game, because it makes zero sense that I have a huge collection with games that I'm not gonna play ever. So I mostly what I collect is obscure games or weird games and barely people talk about, because those are, at least to me, the most interesting ones. Now I do have a huge collection of the Legend of Zelda that everybody knows. I collect anything Legend of Zelda related. And Funko Pops. Oh my god, I had to stop myself because I had so many. I had to legit stop myself from buying more.
Yeah, I couldn't start with the Funko Pops because I knew exactly what was going to happen if I did.
Oh my god!
So I never got into the Funko Pops.
It got to a point that I wasted $100 in one just because I wanted it so bad. I was like, no, this is too much.
That's when it gets real bad. I gotta ask you, Kid Tatito, did you ever collect the small little Funkos? Because I only got into it that far. I started collecting the small ones, and I was getting the hard to find ones, and that was it. Like the Street Fighter series I got.
I actually got into the big ones. The huge ones.
Oh, the huge ones?
Wow. I got like 4 or 5.
I just have the one. I think I have Slifer the Sky Dragon from the original Yu-Gi-Oh series. That was the only one I wanted. I wanted to collect the other 2 Egyptian god monsters when and if they ever come out. But I haven't been following it too tough. It's like when I see it, I'll pick it up, but I don't go out of my way to hunt for it, basically.
Yeah, I had to stop with that because those also have those limited ones that are worth a lot. And I was all like, if I start, I know I can't stop. That's the way I get.
Yeah, when it comes to like retail specific, and then like to the point we were talking about earlier about like region specific media, that's actually the next topic I wanted to get into. Like when it comes to your personal connection to what you do collect, like is your goal to just have the most valuable collection, the most rare collection, or the most nostalgic collection? Like what's the end game for you, like in what you collect? I'd love to hear from Gen X first.
Well, like many of you, and I'm sure we all have the same problem. I have an addictive personality, right? For example, you were talking about the Funkos right now, the Funko Pops. The only one I have is the one for Persona 5. And I knew I needed to stop right there because I just don't have enough room, right? I just don't have enough room. And, whatever I get into, I have to go, all the way. But the reason I have my collection is just this is the space where I relax. Some people have plants, some people have animals. This is where I come, and I think and I relax. But now it's gotten to the point where I'm just collecting things that I really, really want to appreciate because at some point it's diminishing returns, right? After you cross a certain number of games, you're not going to play them all. I've gotten to the point where if I started playing today with the games that I have, I'd probably be dead and I still wouldn't have, right? I wouldn't have played them all. So it's diminishing returns. So I'm very selective with what I buy right now. And I'm just going and getting things that are really meaningful to me, whether it's, video games. I'll show you one right now that I got. And these are just things that I bought recently. I'm sorry, because they're just meaningful to me, right? So, Persona, I wanted to have a complete case.
Oh my god! Oh my god! No, you didn't.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah. So what I did is this one I put together piecemeal. Like I bought a book, I bought the game by itself. Then I saw another one and I sold the book and the game to buy another one. So that's the way I scaled it up, even though the market's really high.
Yes.
You can those in pieces and then just put it together, right?
That's really, really smart, actually. I never would have thought to do that.
Yeah, so I just flipped it that way, So in the end, I ended up paying like $140 for it after I flipped everything.
That's good.
Got it.
But, yeah, and then I just picked stuff that is just that's actually meaningful to me. So when I see it, it's actually meaningful. This is one, and this is kind of a weird one. This is Golden Axe 2. So the reason I keep this game, this is a kind of weird story. My friend and I were smoking weed, right? And I went to bed that night and I was just like so relaxed. And I had this deja vu dream, right? That was, and I told my partner at the time, I told her, listen, I had this dream that was like a Mario, but he was carrying an axe and it was really weird, really dark. Anyway, so then I saw the game and I was going, oh my God, that's the game that I was dreaming about, right? Maybe I saw it somewhere, I don't know. But that's the reason I wanted that game. And back in the day, I was able to get it just in the chipset. But now, again, I have it complete. And this is one I couldn't afford ever back when it came out because I already had a wife and kids.
Is that the repro?
No, this is the original box.
Ooh.
The original
Nice.
Street Fighter. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff I collect now.
Right. Just like, even though it looks like you have an abundance of physical media behind you, you can actually pull one out and have an emotional memory or connection to it. It's not just, collecting for the sake of collecting for you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, no, totally. Thank you for sharing. But yeah, William, I know you mentioned like laser discs and pops and your work, you're surrounded by, everything, all the forms of media that you love. What are some that you personally collect? And are you looking to have like the most valuable collection, the most rare collection, or is it all just things that you have a personal, like nostalgic memory or some sort of like personal, fascination with?
Well, I cheat because most of the stuff I fill the store with is stuff that I prefer, the stuff that's already my preference. So I don't feel as guilty about when I purchase something, yeah, technically it's mine, but my excuse is that it can go on the shelf and there's a possibility that, it could be sold, so it's, the comics are obviously comics. It's a broad, thing. There's certain comics that, that I prefer over the others, but they're all sitting in here. We got about 400 pops right now. They're all sitting on the shelf. There's, like I said, there's the Blade Runner full set that I have. There's a Blade Runner 2049 full set that I have. I just got in a full Batman set. Those are ones that I like and prefer. And when people purchase them, it's kind of like, love, hate, you understand you're in business to sell stuff, but, you see it's leaving. So those type of things. So pretty much I constantly surround myself with stuff that I would collect as a collector, even if I wasn't a retailer.
For sure. Yeah, no, like if I worked in a store that I was just surrounded by things that I personally like had some sort of like emotional attachment to, it would be pretty hard for me to like just see it like get purchased off like by some rando and it's just is suddenly gone. So I don't know if you have that struggle anymore, if you're just like, oh, that's business, that's the
it
way
is, and then I reorder it. Just like,
Fair enough.
I sold a Roy Batty figure the other day as part of the set. I love, and I sold it, and I'm like, I even told the customer how I felt about it, as I was selling it to them. And then, 10 minutes later, I just ordered a new one. It'll be here Monday type of deal. So, they're constantly, the theme is always there. The theme is always there. Even if somebody purchases a big, group of something, I'll replace it with something, either the same thing or something very much like it. And I'll keep my same vibe going that way.
No, that's what's up. Yeah, Chris, CM Retro. What are some of the end goals for you to collect? I know that you're also a person who, flips rare stuff and things like that. But for your own personal collection that you don't necessarily have goals to sell, are you looking to have the most valuable, the most rare? Is it the most like nostalgic for you? Like, what are your personal collecting goals?
Yeah, so I only have one. Well, two. Well, one's not a collecting goal. One is just to play games because that's what I love to do. But, really the only collecting goal I keep is that I want to get my childhood NES collection back. And we're like 3 games away from doing that. They're expensive games, Casino Kid 2, Darkman, and I always forget the other one. But, once we have those, then I'm happy with my collection as it is now. And in fact, like most people on the panel will say that collect video games, you get into it to collect maybe those 2 or 3 consoles that you love, and you come back from a garage sale with a trunk load of stuff you don't need, and you just end up keeping it around and never playing it. Mm-hmm. And that's when it's time to sort of thin out the herd and get rid of the stuff that you don't play. But collecting goals, Laserdisc when you can pick them up, when you can find them, and then those three NES games I need to complete my childhood collection.
Got it. Yeah, no, like for folks who are, collecting to kind of complete a set, I would love to hear if like OverThink, I know you're into, the arcade cabinets. Are you looking to have like a complete set of the arcade one-ups, or
there's only like one guy in our community that gets like every single one when they're starting to cost like $700 each one, and now they're going to start going up to 1,000. There's like no way I'm looking to collect them all because there's so many coming out. So when I strive towards collecting, it's always what I like. And it always starts going to like, all right, I need the rare item. I need this. And I start paying resale. And once it gets overboard, I usually quit whatever I'm collecting and I start selling it. It happens with everything. And the thing I collected the longest was video games. And recently, I want to say, when was it? In October or November, I sold most of my game collection, if almost everything. I still have some consoles, but that's about it. And I took a trip to Mexico City, enjoyed it with my friends. But what I sold my collection for, I knew the worth, especially all my GameCube games, how much they're worth now. I was so upset, but it was a game store that I had grew a relationship with by going over there all the time. And I was like, you know what? I support you guys' business. You guys lowballed me and I sold it. So usually that's what I do with collecting, is like when it gets overboard and I realize like I'm spinning more into the hobby than actually enjoying out of it. I usually kind of back off. And like my friends tell me now, like I'm a minimalist. And I think too, that's a part of it when things start getting overcrowded, is like I get rid of it. So these arcades right now, I only have 7, but I'm probably going to have 8 here soon. And I think about 10 is my magic number. And I'm going to rotate them, sell them, whatever I have to, but always keep 10. So I always try to keep myself in check because I know how crazy I can get once I get into the hobby.
Yeah, no, totally. Especially with the amount of like room that all of those,
Yeah.
cabinets take up. Yeah, for sure. Ken, for you, I'm assuming it's probably the same answer because I've talked to you a number of times about why you personally collect. But for folks who are not in the know, is your end goal to have like the most rare collection, or is it just for the IPs that you personally like and the most rare titles of those IPs, or do you have a different goal in mind as far as like why you collect?
I mean, this moment is just obscure games. I just like to get like, for example, the Zelda, the Tingle games that I got, that I review them, or Ghosts and Goblins. A bunch of people didn't know that they had a release of a PS2 game on the PS2 that was kind of odd and nobody knows a lot about it. Most of the community know, but not a lot of people actually played it or know about it. So that's my angle, just to collect obscure games. But at the same time, I like to collect stuff that I grew up with. It's like, the game is super awful, but I grew up with this game, Dungeon Magics. That game for me is amazing, even though it's garbage. It's hot garbage. I had to admit it. But for me, every time I play it, I enjoy it because it reminds me when I used to be a kid and struggle with those areas. Like it reminds me of that feeling, and I mostly collect for sentiment. Like with the Funko, the same thing. I got really into Doctor Who, and it reminds me so much about when the experience that I had watching the series. That's what I have, a huge collection of Doctor Who figurines from Pops and stuff like that. So it's mostly sentimental, but at the same time, I like to have a nice collection of obscure games that barely people play or know about it, because it's really nice to sit down with people and talk about them, and they go like, "Oh, yeah, but I never played that game. Also, you should play it." Da, da, da. And it creates like a conversation.
Totally. Yeah. I was also just now thinking that with the amount of space that we dedicate to our individual collections, like for like, taking up physical presence in our homes, how do you personally like, preserve your media? Like, especially when it's, like something that's very fragile, like a disc, or even like some other really obscure, maybe like if not an arcade cabinet or like some console, like maybe some Saturn games, maybe some games that you don't necessarily have complete in box, so you have to kind of store them in their own little like plastic zip up folder or something like that along those lines. I'd love to hear how y'all personally preserve your collections and how you take care of them. GXG, if you want to go first.
Sure. I mean, for me, it's about clean, clean, clean. I was just actually speaking to Panda about this because he was talking about, the same thing. He's he said a more humid environment. So I suggested silica packs. But for me, is pretty much keeping these out of the sun, make sure the sun don't hit them. It's a controlled environment here. Of course, I'm in Silicon Valley, so the premium for space in here is nuts, right? So I really have to keep it to this. It can't get any bigger than this, or I'm not going to have any living space. But you keep adding to it, and you really have to maintain it. I think that's the one thing that people don't realize, that as a collection gets bigger, the time that you have to put into it gets larger also, because a lot of it is actually keeping it clean, maintaining it, cataloging it, because you want to know what the value is, right? So for example, this is just part of my collection right here. But when I moved into this place specifically, they asked me that I had to have renter's insurance, right? Mm-hmm. So then I had to catalog all this stuff and get a quote, and I have to pay insurance for all these video games, and that's why I have to get the quote. So that's why I know, how many I have in their value. But yeah, it takes its toll on you when you have to clean them all, and that includes the consoles too.
No, you brought up a good point, because like I also have renter's insurance, but I didn't even think to go through my entire collection of things. I just did like a rough estimate and sent in for a quote and am paying for that renter's insurance as a whole. But yeah, no, like I'm not sitting on like as many, articles of physical media as you are. So I can see why it behooves you to actually itemize everything. So that does make sense. But William, since you actually are in the business of collecting physical media and selling it, it's probably just like another business expense for you to just have additional storage and just keep everything forever. Or I don't know if that's like a misconception that I have.
No, you want to rotate it. Otherwise you'll be out of business. You want to rotate it to the point where, like, say there's valuable stuff. So the higher end valuable stuff, the people who come in that want to handle that stuff, they're on this for the most part on the same level. So when you hand something important to somebody, they take it. They understand that importance of it. So that stuff's on a different level. Standard comic book stuff. So, I mean, we have walls that go up to the ceiling. And for me as a collector, I don't have my own personal collection, but I read it. So when we display our stuff like this, we're trying to convey a story. I always say, don't sell a comic book, sell a story. Because if you sell a story, you can sell just about anything that goes with that story, and you're getting that person going on something that they can continue with once they walk out your door. So we have things arranged to the point and place where that person becomes a bigger collector when they leave us. So we don't, I know, there's high end stuff that we have under glass. Certain things that are, that are autographs, very, very few of that. I don't do a lot of graded stuff because I think that's inflated. It's really made it hard to keep comic books affordable. So I'm not a big graded guy. We have a few of those around, but for the most part, it is trying to get the collector that you're being introduced on the same level as you or near the same level, and then letting them loose. Like, we have an as seen on TV section, because the majority of people that are collecting comics or pops or anything today, 70% of them, their first encounter with that IP is through a TV show or a movie. So we have a section in the store that connects that collectability with books, movies, media, movies, and all that kind of stuff, TV shows included. So the way we have ours set up is different than like if somebody would have it in their room. Like if I had my house, it would be different. But here it's so that they can read the store and extend their collectivity.
God, like you just reminded me of a whole other can of worms about the grading system that, is inflating everything across the board for anyone who wants to collect something physical. But I won't get into that because that's a whole other, 2-hour plus show that we could all probably contribute to. But I'll keep it focused just on the physical media side and preserving that. So yeah, jumping over to Chris. I know since you collect and resell toys, figurines, video games, yada, yada, yada. I'm imagining just a bunch of different paper and plastic boxes that can easily get dented, or if they get wet, then, you basically have to open them at that point. I don't know, just so many different horror stories are popping into my brain, but how do you personally protect your investment?
Yeah, well, I agree 100% with Gen X. I mean, you got to keep it clean. You have to clean all this stuff. You got to maintain it. But from a protection aspect, you have to have cleaning supplies. It's an investment. Cleaning supplies, security bits, screwdrivers, tri-wing screwdrivers. My higher end game. PS2 games and stuff, I've got acrylic sleeves that they all go into, clear poly bags for controllers, just, those types of things you're going to need to invest in, especially when you get a collection the size that some people's collections are. It just makes good sense to have. So I've got a sealed DuckTales too. And it's in a protective case. And then that's bubble wrapped and it's in a box, and then that is in a tote. So I do that with Legos as well. But again, you want to make sure that you have acid-free papers, acid-free bubble wrap. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you're investing properly in your protection. Totes, I always tell people, totes, don't get clear totes, even if they're on sale. Get some kind of colored tote because, like Gen X said, it keeps the sun out. Make sure that they lock down real good to keep water, moisture, bugs out of there. So there's just a lot of things that you can do, but it is an investment.
Yeah, no, it's a huge time sink, space sink, just constantly having to rotate out your inventory to the point of folks who are, resellers as well. You can't just sit on this stuff, especially if you're in the business of, locating it and then, flipping it. So I totally hear that. And plus, I'm getting a bunch of cool tips on how to be a better collector as well from y'all.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And reselling's a little bit different than my personal collection. So say I buy clothing items at Goodwill, Dollar Shirt Day, whatever, right? We find some Marvel shirts, some Star Wars shirts. You have to wash them. And then I've got clear poly bags. So I photo them and then I fold them, seal them in the clear poly bags. And then I've got a tote that I can just go to and stick it in a bubble mailer. That's just presentation packaging. You could absolutely just stick that shirt in the bubble mailer. But the buyers expect more when you're selling online. So.
Yeah, totally. That kind of is a short segue to what I think OverThink might have as far as like a concern about like not only just preserving them, preserving your collection, but also how you display it. So case in point, your lovely background that you're getting lots of great feedback on. Yeah, could you tell us more about how you personally preserve and present your collection?
Yeah. Well, mostly anything I collect these days I use. So I don't really preserve anything. But when I did, the closest thing I ever did was use the sleeves, the acrylic sleeves and stuff like that with the video games that were worth a lot. But as far as like stuff I have, I know it could get damaged in the open air like this. Like I have a pair of shoes that's worth 2,000 there. And it's like, I should be putting those in something. I was actually never going to wear them, but I wore them at the time. I didn't care. It's like, whatever. But I don't really preserve anything because I've had it happen so many times that I've had something expensive and it get damaged or ruined, and it sucks. So now when I look at everything, I look at it as like it's just a physical item. Even though I know it's worth a lot, it's mine. If I want to sell it, whatever it's worth at the time, whether I use it or not, it is. And that's just kind of the mentality I go into things now. I try not to be so attached to things because I've lost a lot of valuable things in life, and I learned that hey, stuff comes and stuff goes. So I don't really preserve too much to that, but I gotta throw a quick shout out to Zod right. He's making me laugh in the comment section. You
he
guys
keeps telling his own
stream.
horror stories about dating and how
I saw the stream that you guys did, and that's how I was like, okay, Ray is cool. Like you did really good on that. But I want to know real quick, what are you into collecting? Because I heard you say something about collecting. What's your thing?
Oh man, I was gonna embarrass myself and pull out my Amico games. Or not even games. They're like physical media, physical boxes that I can't do anything with. I was
Cardboard
gonna
boxes, yes.
Oh
man, I haven't done any Amico content. Yeah, I haven't done any Amico content, but I feel like I was one of those people that first started criticizing it a long time ago, and I stopped. But definitely that's something I think that's going to be worth money. So if any game collectors don't have that, that's like definitely something to get.
4 of the 8 packs. I gave one to
my god!
Another one and I have 2 here.
GenX, were you the one selling them? I remember you. I think I came across one of your videos saying, "Hey, if I'm selling them, I don't care."
Because I think he made a bet with somebody saying he could turn a profit on them.
Yeah. I did, and I gave the proceeds to charity.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Somebody gonna buy it because that's gaming history. That's basically gaming history there.
I actually sent them an email today canceling my pre-order, so hopefully I get my $100 back before they file bankruptcy next week.
I need to keep up with you with that because I canceled mine early on in I think last year in April, and it was no problem. But I've been hearing most people have been getting refunds, but I've heard stories of some people not. So I don't know what's going on right now with the
God, I pre-ordered at
GameStop, it's not good.
So I think I'm good there.
Oh dang!
Yeah.
Oh my god!
GXG is just flexing on everyone right now. But yeah, no, I just pulled out my Switch games that I collect. So Switch is like the first gen of console that I started day and day release to collect physical media for. Everything else I'm playing catch up on, like the 3DS and the Wii U. So yeah, anytime there is like a physical release, especially like on limited run of like a JRPG, farming sim, those are my jam. I collect those. I do imports from Play Asia and some like I said, limited run releases as well. I can't collect everything. I just don't have the space. And to be honest, like I do try to collect the games that I do have interest in playing, not just the ones that are rare. So yeah, that's kind of my jam there.
I do respect Switch collecting because to me, it's one of the last like physical medias that most of the game is on cartridges on some of them. There may be a download, but maybe little, but most of the games you can still play through a cartridge versus the way gaming's gone. A lot of it's just a key on there and everything downloads. So I started out with the Switch 2 collecting really hard, but once Limited Run and all these other little limited companies started coming in, I couldn't keep up and I kind of fell off it, but I still love, that's one of the only gaming systems now that if I'm gonna buy a game physical, it's always on the Switch. Like I like to buy physical on that one.
Sooner or later, if digital don't get famous like it's getting, and they continue doing like physical, they may have to, even PlayStation, Microsoft, and all this company may have to go cartridge based again because it's better than the CD. In my opinion, it's better than the CD.
Yeah, no, y'all make a good point about how all of these new companies coming out and capitalizing on the demand for physical media are just sort of, in a way, exploiting folks like us who do go out of our way to collect, the games that we like, especially if they are games that have long eluded us in our collections, and now is our opportunity to own them. So yeah, like when it comes to these, I guess like these collector economies that are like, popping up. Ken, did you want to share any thoughts around, limited run? Are you like pro
The limited run, in my
stuff?
opinion, I think everybody know my opinion about limited run. I gonna always support companies like that because at the same time it hit the market and eBay, and I see them angry because the game that they were selling at $500, I can get it in $25 or $40 because of limited run. Like for example, a copy of Willy Wars, I only pay like $65, I think it was. When that copy, the original copy of Willy War, costs like 250. Like that's ridiculous. That's crazy. Another game that I'm expecting that they come with a collection is the Persona collection because I want to have the very first one because I never got the opportunity to play it, even though I can emulate it. But I like the physical thing, so I'm waiting for one because I don't want to pay $300 because your mint condition is $385 right now on eBay.
Yeah, I have an extra disc to scratch. That's one I'm going to put on eBay, but I'm going to see if I can resurface it. One thing I wanted to tell you real quick is that you mentioned the Switch. The Switch is the first console that I started buying games digitally for because I had to travel. When it came out, I was going overseas. I was going to teach overseas. I was going to the Philippines and then Singapore. So I couldn't take all that stuff with me. And I remember the Switch was the first one where I actually bought games online so I could travel with them. And it felt wrong. I felt dirty, like I was cheating on my collection. But it's the only way I could do it. I had to put everything in storage.
No, you actually reminded me of how I had a digital code for the game Yooka-Laylee because I backed it on Kickstarter. So I got a digital code for it. But then later on, Limited Run released a physical edition of it. And then Best Buy had its own cover variant of it. So I got the Best Buy version. And so I kind of double dipped on that just so I could have a physical copy of that game. So yeah, for me, it's kind of an emotional attachment to something tangible in my hand to sort of represent like, my affinity for that IP. And that's kind of the reason why I choose to go out of my way to pay for physical media as opposed to just downloading it, even though I know it could be, a lot easier to switch between different games on my Switch and, for traveling, yada, yada, yada. It's just for me, like, if it's a title I'm really into, I'm going to go out of my way to, have it take up the space to kind of, feel secure in my fandom for it, basically.
Yeah. You know what? I have mixed feelings with limited run. Like there's certain things I like that they put out because, in small quantities, you're not going to get a physical release of something. Like if you wanted the Doom 64 or some of those Double Dragon games on Switch, you're not going to get them. But I do feel like on the other hand, that they have manipulated the market on certain things. Like they push certain games.
yeah.
Like I have one limited run game. I sold all of them, which is kind of funny, but I have one. Do you guys know this one?
Oh my god!
Bird King.
I got this as a troll.
Wait,
I
what
got
is
it
that?
because I did videos on this.
That game is really expensive.
If you know
right
the
now.
story behind this, that is why I don't like limited run because they can manipulate the market if they want. And I believe there was a lot of shady stuff. I did videos on it when I used to do content like that on my channel. And it just that's the only thing I don't like about limited run. But other than that, I am happy that they're preserving some of these classics that no one else is doing.
I did some research on that Bird King game, and after Metal Jesus' video, wouldn't you know it, the next 5 sold on eBay came from the Seattle area.
Yeah.
And one came from North Carolina or South Carolina or wherever Limited Run was based. So the first 6 copies sold after that video came from I don't
see the thing that was kind of weird is they said they didn't have any, and then they brought out more, and they said that's our last one, and then they brought out even more, and that's when I got it. It was like later, and then I think they did another release some more. So it's all like you guys are hiding them or reprinting them or something.
Yeah, I remember with GameStop was doing that with the original Xenoblade on the Wii, like because that was a GameStop exclusive, and they would like rotate inventory and like stall it out, and they would do that with the NES classics, the SNES classics too, back when those were hard to find. So all this like manufactured scarcity is one of the things that like really like grind my gears about all these like really like predatory businesses like Limited Run, even though I do buy from them and I'm a patron of them. And they do give me access to rare media that I can't access otherwise physically. Like they still, capitalize on folks like me who are like who they know this is like the only like means of, attaining it. And so they kind of, take us for granted. But to kind of jump over to William, when it comes to like reproductions of like toys or comic books, do you feel like that impacts the market for the original run stuff that you resell?
No, because generally they'll do it in a different way. So with comics and physical media and kind of the stuff that we do with digital and everything happening, a lot of the generation that is starting to collect is either doing it online or they're getting digital formats. So when they used to do like a second printing of like a comic, it would devalue the original run because it was access that, you didn't have to really seek out that original copy, because not majority of people who collected them necessarily were not collectors as far as for value. They were collectors as access to a story or a storyline. So now what they do is with the variant covers and everything else, you see a lot of variant covers that take the place of reprints. And when they do a second printing, they'll do a limited run and they'll do it, a different cover and everything else. And that adds value for the collector without really, ruining things for the actual general buyer.
Got it. Yeah, no, I was curious because I know like with, especially like the older comic books from like, I guess it would be considered maybe like the golden era or silver era.
Yeah.
I'm not a big comic head, but like some of these terms, like I do remember. But when they do get reproduced, you're saying like they're not like, mirror images of what was produced in the past. There's something different.
Yeah, and another thing, the average age of collector, I know a lot of golden age collectors and a lot of silver age collectors like to think that, everybody's buying these things. The average collector that's getting introduced to the game will never be able to afford those things. So for them, trade paperbacks and companions and combined editions are the way that they're going to get. Like if I get somebody who saw Iron Man in a movie and wants to become a collector, and he's in the age between 14 and 24, he's not going to be able to afford to get those comics. So those comics going up and down in value don't mean anything to him because they're not in the type of circulation that affects your average collector. Your upper tier can afford to buy Silver Age and Golden Age, but the vast majority of the people who want to get engaged in the story, the reprints and the new editions are the only way that they'll be able to do it, or they'll do it digitally. So if you want to keep the paper and the physical medium alive, you have to make it accessible to those people. And the value of it for them, they will become collectors, but there's a lot of things out there that's been released within the last 14, 15 years that are a little bit more tandem flow. For instance, I have a Fallout #4. So Miles Morales' first appearance. So a lot of the people who are collecting Spider-Man 2-1 are collecting Miles Morales books. That book's only 10 years old. But if they wanted to go and get a Peter Parker storyline and go get like Amazing Spider-Man 238, first appearance of Hobgoblin, as a young man or young woman in the lower rungs of their job where they're not up in the upper management type levels, it becomes unattainable and it stagnates the collectors. You start. That's how a lot of stores close down, because a lot of people invested in these things just for the value and didn't realize when somebody goes and watches a movie, they're coming to you for the story. They'll get to the value part, as they get more accustomed to it, but they're coming to you to attach that story that they saw to what they can physically put their hands on.
I had a question.
Oh, go ahead.
For everybody real quick. Do you guys have an Achilles heel? Like, is there something that comes out that you have to buy and it doesn't matter the price and you'll just buy it? You don't care.
Oh my God. Yes.
Me, it's Shin Megami Tensei. It's like the Persona series. I'll show you up there. It's whenever it comes out, I just buy it. Like for this last Shin Megami Tensei 5, I bought the Fall of Man edition. I got the digital copy, so I wouldn't have to open that one. I got the steelbook. Because I've been waiting 10 years for another Shin Megami Tensei, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the one where like all caution goes to the wind. Forget about the budget. I don't give a shit. I'm buying it day one.
For me, that's Pokemon. Like I have to buy the day one Pokemon. I pre-order it. I often get like the Pokemon edition exclusive versions of consoles as well. If it's day and date release of the game. I collect plushies. I collect clothes, little accessories, like even like these like really like knick-knacky, not necessarily collectible, just, kind of emotionally satisfying to own aspects of the fandom are, what I'm into as well. So that will probably be my Achilles heel. How about you, William?
It's just one of my favorite movies or something like that I will buy personally. Like I was there when this first came out. Blade Runner 2049, and it came with the little spinner that you had to put together. Movies like that, because even those streaming services have everything on there, they don't necessarily have the extra features and a lot of the bonus stuff. They haven't integrated all that into the actual digital format. So when you watch this very same movie, which is on HBO Max, and I watch it a lot, it's just a raw movie. There's not a lot of additional stuff. And in certain movies, you really want to know how they got to that point of what you saw on the screen. And right now, streaming, one of its weaknesses, it doesn't have a lot of that added to it for the most of the big movies that, have a story to tell.
Got it. How about you, Chris?
The new Micro Machines came out last year, and that was one of my favorite toy lines when I was a kid. So I've been just buying everything Micro Machines that I can get my hands on just to have them again. I do have a second channel just for toys, and we've been opening and reviewing them, which has been a fun experience starting a brand new channel. But I would say, when Last of Us 3 comes out, I'll have to buy the big, huge Supreme LE Collector's Edition. Samurai Jack. I don't like limited run, so I didn't buy the collector's edition from limited run, but I did buy the regular game. But there's very few things that it's when I see it, I absolutely have to have it, because part of what I do is the reselling aspect, and I've been so brainwashed by it's got to be a good deal for me to buy it. You know what I mean? You get into that mode. It makes it harder to spend that extra money on yourself. So,
for sure. How about you, OTG? Achilles heel in collecting?
Oh, if there's something I want, I focus on it and I got to get it. That's just the way it is. So if it's something limited and I can't get it and I really, really, really want it, I'll pay resale. I'll pay whatever I have to pay. And that's the way it is. It's because I keep thinking about it. And you guys know this. Everyone knows this. When you want something, you keep searching. Eventually it starts taking over where you just start thinking about that. And you're like, I just got to get it, and you buy it. And that's how I get when I really want something. So now it's like I just pay resale because I'm not going to be there for days. I already know what I'm going to do is I'm going to get mad and I'm going to end up buying it anyway. So I try not to want things that bad, but there's certain things that I will pay any price, no matter, as long as it's resales for the worth and I'm not getting ripped off, I would definitely pay a lot for certain things. So yes, it just happens.
Relatable. How about you, Ken? What is your weakness when it comes to impulse buying for your collection?
It's Legend of Zelda. You already saw I got a freaking woman purse. I bought a woman purse that is Legend of Zelda related.
It's a shoulder bag.
So dope. It looks so dope. I was like, no, I had to buy it. Paid like $79 for it. It looks dope. It looks really nice. I didn't care to drop that money.
No, definitely. I know you're a big LOZ fan, so yeah, I just wanted to hear you say it though. Someone asked in the chat about our opinions on the Steam Deck, and William, I could make this applicable to digital access to comic books as well. What do we think of digital access to games? Pretty much making or even media our general opinions on that. I'll let you go first, William.
All right, so Listen, the internet is great and digital is great. It has advanced our lives tremendously all around us. But there's one thing that I think that people, and this is what I think we'll come back to, there's something called random encounters. The journey to getting whatever you want to get, whether it's a video game or a comic book or a video rental. These encounters when people gather, and it only happens now at cons, but it used to happen in the consumption. I grew up hanging around a comic book store, and that's why I want to do what I do now. When you go to some place where there's a common thread amongst you and there's a brotherhood, that doesn't happen online sometimes. It may happen in a chat room. It may happen in some kind of occasions like that, but that a lot of that is structured. A lot of the stuff that you do online, you can structure where you want to go, who you want to be around. When you show up to a common place live and in action and pick up a DVD or pick up a comic book, pick up a video, there's a certain random encounter that just doesn't happen when you can digitally download something or read something online or control who your friends are or do all that stuff. When you have to go into a Borders books when they were around and you went into the science fiction, horror, or fantasy section and you would meet somebody or meet a couple people there, or in the coffee shop there, and you guys would talk, and that's how you would become friends. There's something missing in the digital area where it comes, there's no journey for the collector to go on. It's just you click this button and you're there. You can X that button and you're not there. So I think that's a big difference. And I think that especially after 2 years of being isolated from people, I think those kind of things are going to come back a little bit more, you know, kind of like vinyl did, but other things like that. You know, people are going to want to be around people alive and in person again.
Yeah, no, you're pretty much speaking my language when it comes to all the reasons why I personally prefer to go into the store and like have that visceral connection with something physical that, you know, represents something that is really meaningful to me. But yeah, GenXGamer. So I'm sure you're well aware of like what the Steam Deck is and, you know, how it can basically play your entire library of games all in one handheld.
Yeah,
but is it not for you, or are you a fan of that as well as like the physical?
I have it on pre-order, right? That's you know, when I call myself a game hoarder, I'm not kidding. You know, a lot of people call it collecting, and they try to put all these other names to it. But I think once you pass 1,000 games, you're in hoarding territory, right? And you can make fun of yourself. That's okay. I have a huge Steam collection that I don't play because I don't have that much time, right? What are you going to play? Do I play my Xbox? Do I play the PlayStation 5? Do I play the Switch? So I just keep on collecting games, you know, on Steam, and I'm not able to play them all that much. Once in a while I do, but it's probably the least medium that I play. So I wanted to have something where I could play, you know, these games. To the point he was making, yeah, you know, you do want to have something physical, you know, to hold, but the convenience, you know, I'm kind of stuck at that point where, you know, this is, you know, my first love, but especially now that we're going to be traveling again, right? And I'm going to be, for example, later on this year, I'll be in the Philippines, right? I'm not going to carry, you know, 12, 15 games, and I might have access to the internet over there. I'm going to take the Steam Deck if I have it, and I'm going to take my Switch. You know, before that, I used to take, oh, geez, hold on. Here's my DS. You know, the first time I went to overseas and I was in China, I got stopped by immigration in China. You know, when they say immigration is tough over here, you've never been to China. So I was there for like 2 hours because I decided to hop on from Taiwan to China, and they were questioning me like why I was there, you know, like, what are you doing? And I was just like, well, you know, I just wanted to be in China, you know. To make a long story short, they had me there for 2 hours going over my paperwork, yada, yada, yada. And now it's just grinding away on soul hackers, you know? So there's something to be said for having stuff on the go, you know, that you're able to access rather quickly.
Yeah, no, definitely. I really quick, I wanted to shout out the chat for calling out the presence of arcade cabinets that you can actually have multiple games on. And I'll toss it over to OTG to talk about this. Like, what is it about having multiple arcade cabinets versus just having the one with multiple emulators on it for you?
Oh, nostalgia. That's all it is. It's getting one of these little cabinets that look like the old cabinets of walking into an arcade room on a Friday night. I swear, like if I have nothing to do, I'll be a complete loser, turn off the lights, all the arcades at once, and I'll relive my childhood just going through them. And the fact that they're online, you can play buddies who have the same similar hobby, which I have a group of friends, of course. I have this YouTube channel or OT side piece I dedicate to a lot of this 3/4 scale arcade. So I have a lot of friends. We play online and it literally feels like you're at an arcade. It's just that nostalgia. And I modded one of them where I could have all the main games I want. And I had them in there. And it's like, what for? Like it got kind of boring. Like I do love playing emulation like that, but it just like most of the time I'm scrolling through the games of what to play. But if I have different cabinets, like this is my Killer Instinct, this is my Mortal Kombat, that's my Street Fighter, it just like it's so easy to walk up to it and just hit the button to turn on and it turns on. So it's a convenience, the artwork, it's almost like having a statue, something, seeing the, you know, the artwork on the side that resembles the cabinet that when you were a kid, it's just the nostalgia that gets me. And it sells and people are buying it and nostalgia gets us all. So that's the reason why I choose to go for the cabinet that looks like it versus having a main cabinet that plays it all. But going back to the Steam Deck, I just wanted to mention real quick, I'm looking forward for that because I do love the Switch. I do travel a lot. The portability. The thing is, when I take games on the go, usually I'll take like one system. And when I say system, it's either mostly the Switch or I'll take my Mister or my Raspberry Pi. But the Steam Deck to be able to place like PC games on the go, especially when I feel like playing my modern games or playing my arcade games, like that, just when I'm on the go. I'm looking forward to it, but unfortunately, I'm one of those after Q2, so I'm gonna be waiting for a while.
Oh, Potion Sword Run actually brought up a good question, but really quick, I wanted to bid farewell to our friend William. Thank you so much for joining us, good sir. And yeah, I will catch you over on Poindexter Lounge.
All right, thanks for having me. I have to deal with somebody in the store, so I got to bolt. But thanks for having me. It was a good discussion. Nice meeting all you guys. Right?
Yep. Nice meeting you.
Nice
Take
meeting you.
care.
Alrighty. And yeah, sorry. So Potion Sword Run was asking, the arcade cabinets are online with friends leaderboards and all that jazz.
Yes. So Arcade 1UP does have a Street Fighter one that's online. They have a Marvel vs. Capcom that's online. They also have a what is it, Killer Instinct that's online. And I'm trying to think of the other one. And those are like fighting games, so they're like online, like by like who's the best or best record in this and that. But there are some for the old school gamers, like the class of 81 that has the Miss Pac-Man and Galaga. It's got 12 games that have leaderboards. But if you want one arcade cabinet that's got a bunch of like old school games, it doesn't have all the licensed games. They're slowly growing it. It's like it's basically a console. It's the iArcade. It's with two I's, I Arcade, but it's pronounced iArcade. There's leaderboards there right now. They've got Truxton. Me and my friends, we're all here trying to get the highest score. Like it's silly. We're acting real stupid right now, calling each other, texting each other. Look at my score. And I've never been that person, but that's what leaderboards do. They change the game with your friends, and yeah, the arcades do that. So it's like they're slowly like keeping up with the times and putting them online. It just changed it up. So yeah, they are online. They are online.
No, that's tight. But yeah, Chris, CM Retro, my question for you, like, and then I also want to hear your thoughts on the Steam Deck. When it comes to digital media and like, flashcards, for example, and you mentioned that you have 3 more games until you are complete with your physical NES collection. What is it about just, the convenience of like a flashcard, for example, to have the whole library of NES titles on that versus you still pursuing that physical collection?
Sure. Well, I'm not really interested in Steam or Steam Decks. My brother-in-law plays on that. I don't. It's just not my thing. But Potion Sword Run! The Amico Twitter squabble follower ... question mark.
Yes.
I love those videos.
Yeah.
They're crazy. But listen, like I said, I love having that physical Nintendo game in your hand. Is just such a powerful feeling, and nostalgia is a hell of a drug. But when it comes to like emulating or Raspberry Pis, that kind of thing, it's just so much more convenient when you like live stream or to play on a modern TV. It's just part of the convenience of having that way to play that particular game. I still prefer to play my Nintendo games on my Sharp NES TV. It looks great, sounds great. But obviously, I can't hook that up to an Elgato, hook it up to the computer, connect it to YouTube and play that way. So, emulation's good for that, for me anyway.
Got it. So you're not just like just tied completely to physical media. You do also, dib and dab into, the emulation field, even if it's not just for streaming, also for your own personal, gaming experience as well. Or do you prefer to play on like the original hardware in your personal time?
I prefer to play on the hardware, but again, how it is with space, you can only have so many TVs and so many consoles hooked up. So some of the more exotic consoles like TurboGrafx, Neo Geo, MAME, I've got all those on a Raspberry Pi. So if I want to play some like arcade shooters or some TurboGrafx 16 platformers, I'll usually just play it on the Pi. I won't go digging in the boxes to pull out the TurboGrafx.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, for sure. And Ken, Retro Complex. Before jumping into the Steam Deck, 'cause I know that you pre-ordered one and you cover it a bunch. When it comes to like using like flashcards or Raspberry Pis or the Mister, like OTG called out earlier, or any other emulation device, do you have a preference for playing on the original hardware versus emulation, or do you kind of go between the two depending on convenience?
I go between the two, but I still prefer physical because it's pushed me to play the game into its totality rather than having a Raspberry Pi that I have one. I even got a Shua, a XU4. But every time I will play in those little emulator, whatever, I just feel like I was scrolling through games, through thousands and thousands of games, and not convincing myself into what game I should play. Rather than when I have it physically, like with the Switch, I kind of push myself to finish the game because it's already in my console, and instead of instead of going to the list of games that I already have, I have that in my console and I just play that game and continue until I finish it. Like I have 600 games in Steam, and ask me if I ever open one of them. I barely open them. I barely play them. Now, if you ask me my PlayStation 4 or my Switch, yes, I play them because I have it physical, and I had to it's the obligation of damn, I need to take the CD out, so I just gotta finish the game, and then later on I will play another one. I don't know if you get me.
No, I do. It's
push
the abundance
myself
of
into
choice.
finish it.
It's the Netflix, effect where an
Mhm.
abundance of, options is, in my opinion, it makes it harder to choose what I want to watch. Whereas with the Switch, or even if I, wanted to chill for the Amico a little bit, it's a curated experience, Like I may not have personal nostalgia for it, but I like that it's a dedicated, little, experience in and of itself. That's very niche and very quirky. So that's why I dig it. So if I can easily access all these different medias on my super awesome gaming PC, or even on my phone or any other console, but there is something to be said about just a console like a Nintendo Switch or the Evercade, for example. I have an Evercade Versus, the purple one that I really like as well, that I'm going to start collecting the physical media for as well. That makes it just this own special little compartmentalized thing that I go specifically to just for that one experience. OTG, you look like you're about to say something.
Oh no! I'm laughing. I'm sorry. I'm on to the comments. I'm just laughing. What's going on?
Oh yeah, no. I didn't want to try and avoid bringing up the Amico because I know that's something we all like
we
to talk
love the
about.
Amico. Bring that up.
What the hell's an Amico?
But no, I just bring it up because I still have my pre-order for it, and like I said, I still see value in the idea of it. I don't know if it'll ever come out, but I still have a pre-order for it.
Well, you're holding on to it. You're gonna be the last one with the ship seeks. You're gonna be coming out. The thing. Oh, sorry, I'm getting wild here. You're talking about the Amico. The thing that's making me laugh is a lot of people I've seen that were hardcore ride or die have finally seen the light, and I'm loving it. But my boy, closest, he's my boy, Turbo Joe. I'm trying to make him see the light, and I can't. But
You can.
there's
You gotta
ride or dies, and it's a fun
fall off,
subject.
man. I'm writing this until the end, until I see the sign closed. I'm not canceling my Founders Editions. I'm not
Next
canceling
week,
my
maybe.
pre-order. I gotta see where it goes. This is just the beginning. We're just getting started.
You want to make sure you protect your $100 because when they go bankrupt and don't have any money to pay out,
But this is the thing. It's not I don't want to sound super pretentious, but if you're tripping over $100, you probably shouldn't have pre-ordered it to begin with.
Yeah.
This is just
Well, it depends.
it's my channel, fuck off money, this is just look, I can blow 150 on some boxes, and then a hundo to pre-order a console, or even just the 300 for what they're currently priced now. The gaming is a luxury sport for me, so I make time and dedicate funds specifically for those types of leisure activities. So yeah, that's kind of why I'm not tripping over it. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the other thing is that these remember, these are not sales. So the $100 in their balance sheet doesn't go as a sale. If you put those $100 as a sale, you have to pay taxes on them. So in a book, typically, right, if they're doing their books right, and just hope that they are.
That's a big ask, bro.
It's actually a deposit. So if you put it on a credit card, so for example, the way I have it on a credit card that's protected. So if something does happen, I get, I don't get charged for it. So I'll be okay.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's how, most people should have done it. But, I wouldn't. I'm a degenerate, right? Like I said, I'm a game hoarder. I don't recommend this for everybody else. It's entertainment for my channel. And the reason I keep it is because if I do have a pre-order, if there's an announcement, I'll be one of the first ones to get it, whether it's a good announcement or a bad announcement. But it gives you something to talk about, and it's people like talking about it.
Yeah, no, that was a slight segue. Oh yeah, go ahead. Final thoughts, so we can get back to the
just
topic.
final thoughts. To me, all I think is the people holding on to it, or the people who don't care, they're taking it as a gamble because they know that it'll be worth a lot more than that $100 if it goes through. And if they lose it, oh well. But to me, being realistic, the console isn't coming out. The writing's on the wall. The ship is sinking fast. When you're seeing big investors and like pulling out, like when they tried to do this last fundraiser, somebody put out like last minute like 10K. Whoever was there, we all know Smash JT, his story, but I don't think they've proven anything. Like as far as those $100, not counting as a sale, there's got to be something in there that those numbers that they can show investors. This is how many it's on pre-order, or that one angel investor that's supposed to get like the first 6,000 or something like that. Like I think if more people pull away, they're pulling away from it because they already know it's not coming out, and it's like why be there? Why add on to it? At least me, that's the way I saw it. Like
that's
early
that's
on,
not an angel investor. That guy's a loan shark. Forget about angel investor. That guy's a loan shark, man. That there is no way anybody should take that kind of loan on, man. That is nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. So I
how
don't know
much?
what's
How much
going
they
on.
put? How much they put?
$100 per sold console is what they need
Yeah,
to pay that.
but they say the loan shark. Loan shark.
Oh,
when
because
you.
these guys are lending company to the money at outrageous rates, right?
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
what they're doing is they're taking, when they took in investors' money, say like Smash JT, instead of putting it into what they said they were going to put it on, they started paying themselves first, right?
Yeah.
And some of them still have, and they come with a fee. So you get a loan, and the loan has a fee. I mean, this is the type of loan you would get at a used car dealership when your credit score is like 480 or some shit. I mean,
Exactly. No, exactly. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's terrible. Yeah. No. So yeah, just to kind of like put a pin in that slight segue. I appreciate y'all giving me an update on your thoughts on it. But yeah, I kind of like sidestepped that topic a little bit just because like, yeah, no, it's something that I just am not like well equipped to manage like when it goes like, full throttle. But yeah. But thank you though. I appreciate it. That was a good combo segue for sure. But yeah, we are just about at the hour and 20-minute mark. I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I know it's a Sunday evening and it's getting late for a lot of folks over on the East Coast. So yeah, I just want to go around the panel really quick, give everyone, thank yous for being on the show, and give us an update on what you're working on and where we can find you at, starting with GXG.
Oh, wow. Well, tomorrow's episode is going to be the whale hypothesis. I'm going to have a few answers for Mr. Smash JT on where his money went.
Nice.
Interesting. I always look forward to your content, especially now that it's getting into like the really deep, like speculative, like now or never type of speculation, like do or die. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that video. How about you, Ken? What are you currently working on, and where can we find you at?
Like always, you can find me on my channel, Retro Complex, where I do review. Right now, I'm doing a review on Sumo Night that is coming out Wednesday.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us again. And CM Retro, yeah, thank you. I know you're in the middle of a move and you made time to join us today. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So yeah, where can we find you at, and what are you working on?
Well, thanks for having me. It's awesome seeing all these guys. I haven't seen Gen X or OverThink for a long, long time, so it's been a while. But yeah, not really working on anything. Working on getting moved into the new place here, and CM Retro Gaming, and then we've got the Toy Freaks, which is my toy channel. We do Micro Machine reviews. We've got a box of Transformers and stuff that we want to start reviewing. But yeah, that's sort of what we're doing now.
Awesome. And last but not least, OTG, OverThink Gaming. What are you currently working on, and where can we find you at?
All right. So my main channel is OverThink Gaming. That channel is basically a drama channel. I just speak a lot of drama, just get on the mic and talk my thoughts. Now, I haven't produced much content on there in a while because I've been focused on this arcade content, and I put that on my side channel. That's OTG Side Piece, and I put a lot of arcade one-up content on there. I have a podcast on there called The Three Amigos with Turbo Joe and Your Average Gamer, who's really known in the scene for collecting games. So that dude. So then we got The Three Amigos on there every other Tuesday. So this Tuesday we'll be on. And then I have a weekly podcast that I'm on. It's Your Average Gamers. It's his podcast, and it's called The Weekly Retro Party, WRP. You can find that on Your Average Gamers channel, and I do that weekly. So that keeps me busy. And I try to stream every weekend, at least some arcade games that are going on. We're on Fightcade. If you guys don't know about Fightcades and you guys are into fighting games, it's a Windows program, and you can also put it on your Mac that you can go on online and download. I mean, it downloads these ROMs. There's a script that you can download and just play all these fighting games, all the classic ones online, and it's a lot of fun if you have a group of friends. But if you try to play with the people on there, these are people from different countries and stuff like that, and they're really good. So definitely bring your own friends if you're going to go on there. But other than that, that's basically what I'm doing.
No, that's awesome. I put links to everyone's main channels, but I'll go ahead and update them in the description to include your second channels as well. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play the outro. Thank you everyone so much for joining me this evening, having a great conversation about physical media, what we collect, and all that fun stuff. And yeah, this has been episode 20 of the Glimmercast. Thank you everyone for watching. All right,
have a good
care,
night, everybody.
And
take care,
bye.
Guys. Bye.